What up? It's your boy, Dick Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again. This is my discussion slash review for New Amsterdam Season 2, Episode 17. Um, it was good. It was very, very emotional yet again, and that's why we love and constantly come back to New Amsterdam, especially for me. I love all the emotion that it brings week in and week out. But this episode for me, it seemed really kind of, it was definitely emotional, but it seemed kind of slowed down for me. I guess it was kind of just giving everybody that closure that we needed, and they didn't really want to focus on too many other things, because we were saying goodbye to Reynolds this episode, and that was taking place while other things were taking place as well, but like they weren't major things. They were simple things that kind of resolved themselves throughout the episode, but it wasn't something that like would draw our focus or take away from it, because it was real life issues at the same time too, but so it wouldn't draw our focus away because we were saying goodbye to Reynolds this episode. um so let's just dive right into the episode, man. Yes, the stuff that was taking place this episode was very, very emotional, very realistic. It had to do with real life. And I'm gonna tell you guys something that I haven't told you before. It kind of hit home a little bit because I have cancer as well. As you guys can tell, I look fine, I feel fine, and it's I'm taking my medicine and constantly, and I'm doing perfectly fine. It's just some days I feel a little off, but I'm totally having it treated, and I'm doing fine. But this episode really hit home for me as well, and I love New Amsterdam for that. The emotion is always carried through. You feel everything that the actors are feeling, and I feel like the stuff that they've done, it really grabbed you with reality, but also it was very simplistic because they didn't really want to make it too heavy, because we were saying goodbye to Reynolds, and I felt like that was one of the main focuses of this episode as well. But overall, man, I really enjoyed it. I really did. Let's talk about some of the cases. Well, there was just this particular, just one major case, and then everything else was kind of revolving around that and everything else. The little girl, which where we start this episode about, I want to say her name was Allie, I think. We see her, and she needs like a heart valve transplant or something like that. Well, a heart valve surgery or something like that, and her parents and her parents' insurance didn't cover it, so they started like a GoFundMe to get that for her, and it got a lot of publicity. It put New Amsterdam on the map, and it put them on Ellen, and it got them well abundantly over what she needed for her surgery. And that's what this episode was revolving around, that and kind of saying goodbye to Reynolds. So Max pretty much became a public figure for New Amsterdam to help other patients. Well, hey, I need some money to help fund my surgery, so could you come be in a video with me and help me get my surgery going? And yeah, so Max really wasn't feeling it. He felt like he was being used, and felt like they were begging for money for these people, and they had to put out their illnesses just to get views or get people. Since I'm comparing it to YouTube, get people to view their video or donate to them just because of their illness, and not like wanting to do it because it's such a good thing to do. And that was Max's whole problem this episode, and we seen it take place in different cases he was working on, especially the one with the Hong guy that's going to become a doctor. His father gave up everything for him to live in America, to be raised in America, and his dad had the same problem that Allie had. And the funny thing about it is, because he wanted to do the same thing that Allie's parents done for her. Well, they didn't do it. I think maybe her parents did it, or maybe Iggy or somebody done it, because they didn't really specify who done it. But anyway, whoever done it, he wanted to do the same thing for his father. And the thing about it was, his father is like way worse off than Allie was. He can't really respond, make a smile, do anything to really just acknowledge that his son is doing a video cam, or maybe he didn't want to, because we find out later in the episode that his father told him that if he had to shoot that video, he would disown him and he wouldn't talk to him anymore if he shot that video and put it on the internet for him to beg for money for people, because that's not what he wanted. He would rather die than beg people for money to save his life. Now, I'm very prideful myself, but sometimes you just have to admit that you need help. But I can understand where the father was coming from at the same time, because it kind of coincides with what Max was saying this whole episode. Like, you shouldn't have to put your whole injury or your whole medical issue online just for people to donate. Tell them the problem and like give them, well, you don't even have to tell them the problem. Just like let them know that there's people out there that can't afford the medical surgeries or anything that they need to have done, and they need help. So if you want to help, just help. You don't have to know what's actually going on with them. And now, granted, because it's so sad, because in today's society, people will try to scam someone so bad. But just let them know that you're willing to help them if they need it. And Max set up this whole little GoFund them type thing with the hospital to set it up. So every patient that needed something and they didn't have the money to help do it their doctor could reach into that pile and get it out and pay for the surgery for their patient. And at the end of the video, we see where everybody's kind of giving their 2 cents and how New Amsterdam saved them and how you can donate to help save someone else. And it was so good. It was so wonderful. And it's so nice to see. Man, I feel like the whole world should watch New Amsterdam, because New Amsterdam could just make the whole world a better place. It's just so wonderful, man. Then we have VJ with his veteran patient, and I'm assuming he crashed in an airplane and it messed up everything. He can't walk anymore. He's pretty much paralyzed. And they operated on his brain to kind of get him to maybe kind of have some motor skills again. Well, not motor skills, functioning skills with his hands and everything again. And it really wasn't working. But then VJ kind of let him kind of visualize that he was flying a plane again, and they hooked him up to a plane simulator, and he actually flew the plane. But it started to give infection inside the surgical wound, so they had to remove the implants they implanted inside of him. And that's so sad, because the dude was so happy. But at the same time, at the end of the episode, VJ was talking to him, and we noticed that the dude was like, well, VJ felt some kind of way, man. He was like, he was so hurt that he couldn't help the dude and give him back that ability. But he was like, it's okay. You gave me that one last chance to fly. And I was like, man, oh, come on, man. Every time. New Amsterdam does it, man. What else happened this episode? Like I said, we had Max. Oh, we had Sharp finally taking back over as deputy medical director and over the oncology department, since Castro is up out of there. So we had Sharp taking back over, and we had her and Karen. I finally learned to see the lady's name now. Karen talking about what was it? A cancer fundraiser, like for all of the people and kids that beat cancer within the hospital. And some of the kids felt some type of way, and it was like, well, it doesn't feel like we're winning. It feels like, I have this thing that I beat, and I'm just waiting for the other ball to drop, or waiting for it to return and come back. So Sharp decided to just axe the whole winning side of the fundraiser and just let the kids speak their truth. One of the kids that was going to be on the stage, she started to limp, and Sharp noticed it, that she took her to run some tests, and her cancer came back. And she was so upset, because she felt like, well, she beat it one time, and listening to Sharp and giving out her speech, it made it feel like she beat cancer, but now it returned, and she doesn't feel like she won or she beat anything again. And that's where the other kids came in, and they was like, well, I don't feel like I beat it either. I'm just feel like I'm waiting on the other ball to drop, and it's going to return at any moment. So the reality of it really sunk into this episode with the GoFundMe and the cancer survivors. This is real stuff. New Amsterdam does it every time, and it's so real, and that's why I love New Amsterdam, man. We also have, man, this is where it got weird for this episode for me. We have Bloom and Iggy kind of seeing this doctor that's roaming around the halls, and they were like, Could it be a ghost? And I knew it wasn't a ghost because I mean, like, we all know that the show's based in reality, so I knew there wasn't going to be a ghost or anything supernatural like that. But Bloom was messing with Iggy, and it kind of had a bad payoff because we all know Iggy's going through something right now. Like he's not really talking with anybody, with his husband or with any other psychiatrist. But at the end of the episode, we see him talking to the ghost doctor, and the doctor didn't have any say anything because he has dementia. But he's finally putting those words out there, letting it be out in the open, and instead of keeping it bottled up, because Iggy's going through some stuff, and people, they can kind of notice, but like he hasn't said anything, and they don't want to be the ones to really come out and say it. Then, to wrap this episode up, I wanted to save the best for last, and that is talking about Reynolds. We have Reynolds leaving, but he's kind of antsy about leaving, and I was hoping that was kind of going to get him to stay, but I felt like Reynolds' story with New Amsterdam is done, so him leaving it is the better call. So he's still lingering around the hospital, and everybody's mentioning, well, I thought you had already left, Dr. Reynolds. And he has one more case left to help save in New Amsterdam. This kid wanted to take a selfie because he felt like he's going to get left out because he's constantly in the hospital. And he comes in contact with an elevator shaft to try to take this risky picture, and he falls. And Reynolds hears him and comes to save him, and him and Reynolds is trapped in the elevator for a long time. But they finally get out, and Reynolds operates and saved this kid's life, along with the new head of what is it, cardiothoracic, I think, and Dr. Duke. We haven't seen Dr. Duke in a minute. Dr. Duke's been gone for a minute, but with Dr. Duke and the new head of the cardiothoracic, I think that's right, chair. So we got introduced to a new chair this episode as well, and we got to give a wonderful, good farewell to Reynolds, and it was so sad to see him go because we can definitely tell that he loved New Amsterdam. But I feel like they done everything they could do with his story. His story's pretty much wrapped up and resolved. So him leaving, going to San Francisco with his fiance, I wish him the best, man. I really do. Then at the end of the episode, we see everybody dressed all nice and they're going to the gala, and they're giving Reynolds that goodbye hug and that goodbye feel, and it kind of made you feel some type of way because, you know, Reynolds has been there since episode 1, season 1. So to see him leave, it was kind of heartbreaking a little bit. But I gotta say, man, let's be real. Sharp and Bloom looks so fine this episode. They were so fine, and we see everybody's giving Reynolds a hug and wishing him good luck and everything, and we kind of had that interaction with him and Bloom at the end where it's just like, okay. It was a lingering hug, but like there was nothing from it, but it was just, oh, okay. Well, we had that one thing that one time, so. But yeah, man, that's everything that happened this episode, and we're not going to be back until April 7th. But I did notice in that preview, Daniel Day Kim seems like he's going to join the cast as a new doctor at New Amsterdam. So I'm super excited for that, man. This is Word Incredible. Don't forget to smash that like button till you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.